As you can see, it's Sunday morning and I am not at church. I'm just here now. Um, there's a few things I want to talk about today. If you don't know me, my name is Suzanne Titkemeyer. I wrote the column No Longer Quivering for nearly 10 years for Pathos. I'm heavily involved in writing several books right now. I've actually turned to that and away from social media for a lot of things. And I'm seeing some really disturbing behavior on the behalf of a lot of people. And I'm seeing some things it's causing. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that today. From my sewing room, let me get my drink. Got one of those Clites. That's the name of some kind of sugar-free drink mix we have here. It's kind of like Crystal Light. So I guess they just call it Clite. And I'm away from my Kleenex, just like without a box of Kleenex. 4 years ago today, I had to look it up. Oh, well, actually, 5 years ago today. What am I saying? 4 years ago today. The religious community that I was part of after leaving my old church went through something pretty horrific. We showed up at church that day and everything was spray painted. Somebody had taken spray paint to the front of the church. They had spray painted a lot of different slurs. They had spray painted trees, signs, all kinds of stuff. They spray painted cars up and down the avenue leading to the church, or the boulevard, I should say. Boulevard's when it has the median strip and the trees and things, I think. The boulevard, okay. Boulevard Avenue, whatever. Somebody had gone down the line and then spray painted a bunch of cars. And there was a lot of hateful anti Christian rhetoric put up there, including like Hail Satan, but Satan was misspelled, and crosses and all sorts of things. It was kind of disheartening for our Methodist church, our Methodist fellowship. But something happened out of that. And I want to point to this because I think this is where we are as a community, as a world. This is what needs to happen, and we need to be helpful with it. Um, the very first religious community to reach out to our Methodist church was our brothers and sisters at the newly formed Culpeper Islamic Center. They showed up with flowers and showed up and asked what they could do for us. And I have to tell you, that was one of the most touching things I've ever seen. Our Christian brothers and sisters did not reach out to us, but the local Muslim community did. And that was a really good thing that they did. And I think that things like that need to happen to build bridges between different communities where everybody seems to be offended by each other. I'm not really sure why that is all the time. People take offense at the craziest things. And I understand everybody's hurt, everybody has triggers, everybody's going to react. But I keep remembering this because one thing I did this week is I downloaded Debbie Pearl's only fiction book called The Vision. I didn't even know that she had written one. And I've been covering her for years. It was so buried among a lot of her other things. I didn't know she'd written it to the point where I was just dismissive to Rachel Oakes and just would not listen to reason. Finally, when I listened to reason, when I started reading through the more reasonable comments from her commenters, I said, whoops. And I apologize. And I meant it. But here's the thing. I'm reading that book right now, and it is the biggest free-floating Muslim hatred I've ever seen. It's possibly the most racist, dismissive book I've ever read, and that's saying something. Debbie likes to put down hillbillies. She likes to put down people from the city. Debbie likes to put down everyone who is not exactly like her, which is really common in the world of Quiverful. I mean, just look at Lori Alexander. She puts down anyone who is not a millionaire, anyone whose husband is not a millionaire. Let me rephrase that. Who is not living exactly like she's living. Anybody not living like her is dicing with the devil, in her opinion, which is kind of funny because I think about the Jesus that harvested grain on the Sabbath to feed his flock. They went through and did it, and how the religious people that day hated on him. I'm seeing this all over again. throughout the religious community and the non-religious community. One of the things that's been interesting the last couple of weeks, that I've walked through a lot of really horrible pain the last couple of weeks that has nothing to do with having had asthma. I'm actually almost completely better now. Go figure. The medicine's finally worked. I'm seeing some pretty crazy intolerances, just not just in the religious community. One thing I did when I was working for No Longer Quivering was I wrote a couple of pieces about the Muslims in comparison to some of the fundamentalists we have. And I pointed out that to dislike all Muslims because of the actions of a few would be like everyone else in the world hating Christians because of the actions of Westboro Baptist Church. It does not even relate in name only. So I think we have to be careful about that. And one of the nice things that happened for me out of that was that I actually gained a fair number of Muslim followers on Facebook and on No Longer Quivering, and I've got to learn a lot about them. That's the other thing I wanted to say. I think if you dislike somebody, or you think you might dislike them, or you're feeling angry towards them, I'm a big believer in stopping and taking a look at who they are and what they're doing, the good, the bad, the ugly, and see if you can find common ground with them. I never was able to find a whole lot of common ground with the fundamentalist, quiverful people, but I tried to at least have some objectiveness to what I was writing about and what they were saying. It's been very helpful to do that. So when we see people we don't like, a lot of times it's necessary to take a look at the why and then see, is there anything we can do that'd be different that might change the dynamics of what's going on right now? Example. Everybody was screaming about Real Entertainment News. Everybody telling me you can't have anything to do with him. Hey, Linda. But I said, I'm not crazy about the things he said about women, but I'm not going to totally paint him with that tar brush yet. I'm going to look and see what he's about and see if there's any way to have a place, a commonality with him, to talk to him, to see if there's anything that we can do so that the community is peaceful. Because I believe in that above all else, being peaceful. That means you don't have to. JJ, the only hate speech I have seen is when certain people's followers go after him and say a bunch of stuff and he reacts. I've seen that, and I've seen a couple of nasty things he says about women. But that's not my fight. I have a place of commonality with him. I would rather stay in dialogue with him and with others and talk to them. I was really upset last night when Carolyn Ironwell, who I purposely missed a lot, JJ, because some of the ones in the other community that hate him and say the worst really dislike me. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm fine with that. Let them dislike me. I am not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm well aware of that. And I'd really like to try and focus more on the Costa Rican things. I am having to do some of the religious things too, unfortunately. This last week with the religious stuff it's just been evil. I'm just going to call it what it is. That's even after finding out that a friend of mine, somebody I thought was a friend in real life, lied to me. I caught her in a lie, a pretty big one. So I didn't fight with her. I just have ended the relationship. I just don't want anything more to do with it. It's the same here. Last night when Carolyn Ironwell became very upset and she left Twitter, and people are telling me she's closed her YouTube account. I was sad to hear that. It was over the Creep Show arc and Emily Artful. I'm still looking at all that stuff and digesting it. Like I said, I like to see if there's a middle path where there is some kind of peace that can be had and something can be salvaged and maybe everybody learns and moves on. That's really where I am with all this. But in the middle of all that, in that crazy border run I had where I'm typing on here trying to Photoshop my COVID record to change the date by 30 minutes so that I can meet their guideline and come into the country of Nicaragua. I also had something else happen that I haven't really talked about yet, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit today because yet again, it really summarizes who I am, who I am as a person, and how I see the way forward on this. And I'm upset with this because, like I said, Carolyn left last night. She's somebody I deeply admire. She was harassed off by other people, apparently, it looks like. Okay, this week, one of the things that happened was I discovered that the pastor's wife, the pastor and his wife, who I've been very supportive and loving of the whole time I've been here, 4 years, told all the women of the church to have nothing, to be very cautious of me and have very little ado because of no longer quivering, because I wrote a column where I took apart religion. I was shocked by that because the only religion I've ever taken apart is the hateful, toxic stuff, the stuff that ends up with you in the grave or beat up or whatever. I don't go after regular Christianity. I'm not KJ. If you want to have beliefs, go for it. I have my beliefs too, and I'm doing home church right now. So this was really hurtful to discover because I had thought I had perceived that the pastor's wife was my friend. I was shunned, Linda. Yes, I was shunned without knowing it. I knew that I wasn't tapped to do X, Y, and Z with various people. I never could figure out why. Now I found out why. I found out what she was saying about me all these months. While she was being sweet to me, kind, loving, acting like a friend, how I helped her out various times, she helped me out. To find that out is really it's kind of heartbreaking. I cried for a day or two. There was a little bit of tears going. But after everything I'd been through leaving Quiverful and the 2 years of crap being flung at me then, this was minor. This was, yeah, it is sad, Linda, because I liked this person. I supported her and her husband. When they were forced out of our community, I was very upset. I was upset that anybody could act like that towards them because they were good people. Now I'm able to see that everything's still going on up there. Everything formerly going on up there is all toxic and weird. I fell into another toxic religious community. Fortunately, I didn't take much of it in because, like I said, my beliefs and theirs didn't exactly entirely mesh. So, what are you going to do about that? I hear you asking. Here's what: nothing. I'm not going to confront Stacy. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to live and learn and pray for her and release her because there's nothing more really that I can do at this point. Sad, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, that's one of my favorite sayings. It is what it is. When something happens and it's like, oh my God, oh, blah, blah, blah. My husband's ranting and stuff. And it's like, well, it is what it is. And that's the sad truth about a lot of people and things. And it's not just real I'm talking about here. There have been some creators that I've stood by. There's some that I've walked away from. I try not to talk fecal matter to it about any other creators. I try not to do that. Even if it's somebody I severely dislike and I think they're doing the wrong thing. The only person that is consistently beyond redemption at this point is KJ. And I'm not going to call her by Catherine or her preferred name of Katie Joy. She's crossed so many lines, is still crossing so many lines. Hey, Christoph, that I don't see a lot of redemption for her. Now, would it be great if she woke up tomorrow and said, hey, everything I did was wrong. I apologize, and turn to whatever religion turns her on. But for her to continue where she is, I mean, just look at the way she behaved during the Gwen Shamblin Lara thing. They're still picking up body parts out of that lake more than a week after the initial crash. Now, she's no longer talking about this. This has completely fallen off her radar once the creep show art, Emily Artful situation happened. which is unfortunate because when you try to make your living talking trash about everybody, what does that make you? So for me, that's the only person beyond redemption. I mean, I will talk to pretty much anybody at this point. I do block the occasional very angry person, but not very often. The piling on is just overboard. Yes, I agree. It is very much overboard. There's no redemption for her. There's redemption for everybody else, JJ. Even the people you follow that I may not necessarily follow, I may have some feelings and thoughts about. There's still space for agreement and for redemption and various things. There's that space. I think we have to keep that liminal space between all of us in the community. Linda, I kind of hope that does happen. Part of me thinks that the kindest thing we could do is just ignore her and that KJ would just fade away. Because every time we do talk about her and talk about her in great detail, the only thing she can gain supporters. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I guess there's some that say she's buying her supporters, she's buying her YouTube views. That may be. I don't know. I'm not sophisticated enough to be able to pick that up. That's just not me. Um, so I am hoping, because I got to tell you, it is exhausting to keep up with what KJ is doing. It's always exhausting. All of the drama is just the most exhausting stuff in the world, and I don't have a great deal of energy right now. You see, I'm hiding in my sewing room. My husband has various company coming today, and I'm hiding in the sewing room because I don't have the energy to deal with all of that. And I'll come out because I'm cooking, and I'll feed everybody and say hi and have a couple of conversations. But the majority of the entertainment falls on his shoulders, not mine, because I just can't do it right now. Okay, the oddest thing is how KJ became the biggest victim in the CSA crap. It's hilarious. It is hilarious. And I have to speak to that again because Creepshow Art was not the person causing all the hackers and hack attempts and nasty emails. Shannon has been gone from the interwebs for quite a while, as far as I can tell. She got so much harassment and pushback when she was covering KJ that she went out of her way. I don't have Kleenex in here. She went out of her way to stay out of everything now. She's just removed herself because of the amount of harassment. That's why I'm upset with Carolyn Ironwell leaving the community, because she feels harassed and put upon and things said about her by various people. Yeah, I think we should maybe think about what we're saying before we say it, instead of doing dog piles and saying, "Yeah, that person sucks. Let's all dog pile on them." I just want to. My quilt is not coming along well. I'll show you one of the panels. This is a quilt from my bedroom. The reason it is not coming along well is I don't care how carefully I measured and cut. The panels are different sizes. And I have to trim them to make them fit, and that's kind of a pain in the ass. Do you believe that KJ has reported said threats? No. I believe she's reported a small amount of things to whoever it is that Salty was talking to, but I don't believe she's reported everything. But I have a reason for that, because in all the time I've known her, which was probably maybe 3 years now, she has had the tendency, and you can see this in my personal blog too. She has had the tendency, every time I've talked to her, she has said, so and so is harassing me, so and so is sending me death threats, so and so is doing X, Y, and Z. And it's been a revolving cast of characters in all the time that I've known her. And I've always been, oh, yeah, that's too bad. They must suck. I've never really played into that. When she said it, I just acknowledge it and move on because I've always known it was probably crap. She's probably provoked and picked at somebody to the point. I mean, just look at what happened with Jillian Epperly of Jilly Juice. She had no idea that KJ even existed until KJ started doing content on her by taking the Dr. Phil clips and writing articles about them. And predictably, Jillian lost her mind about it and started attacking KJ and trying to sue her. I mean, to me, that's just silly. KJ deliberately went in on her to make money and views, and then said that Jillian was sending her death threats. She immediately started complaining to me about Jillian doing all this crap to her, right up until the lawsuit. And then she was like, oh my God, I'm getting sued. Oh my God. Well, it was small claims court in Ohio. You cannot sue somebody for defamation of character through small claims court anywhere in the U.S. It just does not work that way. You have to hire an attorney and you have to go to real court. You have to go to civil court for that. Hey, Tiny Dancer. She's always the victim of every story. You are exactly right. I'm going to put a link, Noelle, into my personal blog because I have all my photos there of the crazy things I see and do here. I have one of the ones that comes up the most. It's one of the most popular entries I've done. Was I put in a ton of. I put in my last conversation with KJ, my last conversation of any length. I did screen caps and posted her bashing Sherelle. There's a page for Sherelle. Her bashing Steve. There's a page for Steve. Her bashing just random people. She, in that particular conversation, was making death allegations and things against people. And Tiny Dancer, it's going okay. She has his enemies list. She says is always going after her and trying to kill her and things. And I've just never paid much mind to it because once I figured out with working with her at Pathos how jealous and how inability to share the spotlight. She had to be the focus of attention and be stroked and praised and whatever, or she thought she was being attacked. And that's really genuinely what happened here with her. Oh, there goes Lifeline. I hope whoever's in that gets to the hospital. They're right overhead. Okay. Oh, I'm sure she does have a hate list, Tiny Answer. I'm pretty sure she does. She's always made these claims as long as I've known her. It's been years and years and years. Yeah, I was hoping that Tati would be that person. When they settled, I was not happy about that. I told Mr. Saltz, I said, I can see why you would settle, but I'm not happy about it. I was looking forward to one red hot mess of a lawsuit in Minnesota. She's been making noise that she's going to Josh Duggar's trial in July and seeing Amy, going to see her good friend Amy. Well, Amy just has not picked up with what a lot of reality stars have, like, I'm having a brain fart here, senior moment. Olivia Plath. Olivia Plath figured out pretty quickly that KJ was just a user. One of the Chrisley daughters she was, quote, friends with and used her, but she would bash people. Yeah, she thinks she's everything. And, it's sad and telling. She spends hours and hours and hours and hours every day doing this. And I don't know when she has time to actually be an effective mother, much less the mother of a child with health issues, with ongoing health issues. I don't get it. I don't know how she has the time for it. My time management skills aren't good, though. But when I had small children at home, they were much better. I'll say that. So there's a lot of this I just don't get. And I saw somebody was attacking Mr. Salts on my timeline. They were constantly attacking him. And I saw Dottie Morgan had retweeted one of the things. Um, so it's interesting. There's all these different communities that have various bones to pick with various people. It seems like Mr. Salts was part of some kind of not in my backyard movement about homeless people in Los Angeles. Los Angeles does have a terrible homeless population problem, but I don't think the reaction that was reported that he had is the way to go. There's got to be a way to accommodate a homeless population and help them and still keep the streets of Los Angeles safe. Again, I like the middle path. I always have been on the middle path, I think, instead of fighting and fussing and going, not in my neighborhood. I sat on our HOA board for like 7 years, and it was the most miserable 7 years of my life as far as the neighborhood we lived in Virginia, because sitting on the HOA board was horrible because everybody fought over the dumbest things. And I kept saying, have you tried talking to your neighbor about this? I said that probably 50, 100 times a year. It was. One time I got up and there was a note on my door that said, tell so-and-so at such and such address that if they leave their garbage can out more than 20 minutes after the trash is picked up, I'm going to go kick their ass. People would find things like that. And this is a nice neighborhood. It wasn't like I was living in, Compton or someplace where there is violence. I was really shocked. I don't think Amy plays much of a part with the Duggar family at all anymore. I think she's probably persona non grata. I was still talking to Katie when Katie interviewed her and on camera, and within about 20, 30 minutes of the interview going up, Jim Bob Duggar was on to Amy to have it removed, or he would sue Amy for 100,000 or a million, I don't know, some crazy number of dollars. So Katie Joy took it down out of her friend. She said out of her friendship with Amy. I think that Amy is probably on the sidelines, and Amy is on the sidelines. I think the only person that talks to her is that I can see. It looks like Jill Dillard, because Jill is on the outside herself right now. And I got to say, I love Jill's bohemian vibe. It fits her perfectly. Even if she is buying clothes from Amy, because Amy's store is 3130 or 3031, I don't know. But she sells modest clothing. KK is either buying that or getting it for free now from Amy to wear it and promote it online. And I think that's all kinds of problematic. Her source, I think that Amy's probably the source of a lot of the Duggar content that she gets. Not all of it. So who knows? Linda, I saw something about that too. I saw a little clip that she doesn't drive. And I can't imagine that. I cannot imagine not driving. Even here, where I don't drive a whole lot. And I have moments where I can't drive because it's like, all the time I was trying to get used to that lyric and I was all dinged out like this. I told my husband, I said, I cannot drive. You're going to have to drive to the store. So I do drive. I mean, the other day we did the Nicaraguan run. I did not drive on the way up. I drove some on the way back. I can't imagine not driving. I think of the day that I had some depression here. One of the interesting things about having the asthma is I will sometimes tank real bad right before a bad series. Oh, thank you so much, Susan. Susan Canada. That's going straight in my yarn fund. Thank you so much. The day I was taking oxygen levels and I didn't realize that. I got up and I was real depressed and I was crying and everything. I actually got in my car and I drove. I drove north of here. I drove past Playa Brasilito. I drove past Playa Flamingo. I didn't go as far as Playa Donta, but I went pretty far. And I stopped at the overlook that looks over Playa de Panda Sugar Bread Beach, I should say, and sat there listening to the radio. I can't imagine not driving. If nothing else for that moment I needed to get away and think and cry for a few minutes before I could come back and resume my life. I can't imagine not being able to drive, so I can't run and get whatever. It's bad enough here that we're not driving but 50% of the time because of we got COVID restrictions going on. It is really bad for that, but not driving. Why do you think she doesn't drive? I mean, I look at Todd like he's kind of her slave right now. He does what she tells him. He drives. He does that. He watches Vaughn all the time. I think he probably cleans the house. I don't recall her saying that a maid does it. Maybe she does have inside help. I don't know. Hey, Wind Whispers. So there's that. There's that. Who knows? Who knows? Part of me would love to be a fly on the wall in the household because I keep trying to figure out how the household is run. Wind Whispers, that is understandable. I don't like to drive at night because my vision's not real good at night. It's worse at night. I know when I'm tired, my vision is really crappy. So I try to drive at night. I did drive at night back from Nicaragua the other night, and that was a big mistake because it was Friday night. Friday night in Costa Rica, everyone who can walk, drive, ride their bicycle, ride their motorcycle down to the cantina does it. I came close to plastering three guys with my car. It was the craziest thing I'd seen. I hadn't been driving on a Friday night here in forever. So there was that. I had some scariness. Hey, Noelle. So there's a lot of frightening circumstances out there that I could see you wouldn't want to drive or you wouldn't drive. Um, I'm worried going to the States. I'm going to the States in July. My baby is having her 30th birthday, so I'm going to go for a week. I booked my tickets, whole 9 yards, and I can't wait. She just moved into a house this past weekend. So I'm going, but here's my thing with the US, and I've watched a lot of hours of live PD that just scares the crap out of me. Here, they don't pull anybody over for weaving on the road, none of that. I'm a pretty good driver. I haven't had an accident in like forever, like 30 years plus. Um, But here's the thing. If I were to be pulled over for suspicion of DUI, I can't walk straight. And I've seen how the police will sometimes treat people that have health issues that are on medications that they pull over for DUI. They'll arrest them for DUI and then say, well, you'll take a blood work and prove what you have to say, blah, blah, blah. So rage. Folks don't know I'm rage. My boyfriend sees it. Yeah. So there's that. She is the sole money maker. She holds the money over him, most definitely. They live separately in the house. Yes, I think that's true. I think she has the whip hand in the marriage, and I'm not sure she's ever had the whip hand before. What I mean by that is she controls everything and likely controls it in a brutal fashion, like Simon Legree standing over a slave with a whip. I just have a feeling, just from having known her, that this is seriously some kind of control thing with her. And she's making him dance to her tune. Now, anybody can see that a man won't do that very long. A man might put up with it for a while, but most men are going to have enough pride within themselves to think, ain't nobody telling me what to do, that they're going to stand up and say, now look here, we're supposed to be partners and making this about both of us. Something happened to Katie when she started making major amounts of money on YouTube. When she started doing that, we went from just regular Katie to hyper Katie. She told me early on when she'd been doing it 3 or 6 months that she was making routinely $25,000 a month. I don't know how true that is because I know she lied about what she made on patios to all of us, and we were all kind of laughing, going, "Yeah, girl, please, we know you're not making that kind of money. We know what the contracts say." Susan, I do too. I feel bad for her. What she did was not right. I agree. Not right, not right. She needs to apologize and try to make it right. She really does. But I'm not going to throw rocks at her to tell her to do that. I join the dog pile. Somebody has to come to the realization they have to do that. And I don't care how much rocks you're going to throw at somebody, that usually won't, that's usually not the thing that makes them do the right thing. Linda, I agree. The best thing Todd could do is to take his son. Well, first document everything. Document, document, document. I tell my friends that are going through divorces or dealing with a problematic ex-spouse that has custody, just document the hell out of everything. Scoop the kid up and run. I don't think there's a court in this land that would give her custody over him just based upon internet behavior that we've seen. And I'm not even counting real behavior. I'm talking about the stuff we see with the things she does online. I think it would go really poorly for her. I've seen a couple of cases actually where internet addiction played a huge part and the husband got custody as a result. So there's that. And I am running out of breath, as you can hear. Not wheezing like I was, but I got to go back to cutting these quilt skirts and make them all even again because I can't apparently measure or count either. So there's that. Okay, you guys, have a great Sunday. Try not to sweat anything. Try not to be drunk in any fights if you're not feeling like it. I'm just going to say that. You don't have to fight with people if you don't want to. For me, I have such limited energy that it has to be something important. Like I fought with my husband when he refused to take a exam because they thought he had cancer. I fought with him about that. I fought with him about getting the COVID vaccination, which he's going to get when he goes to he's going to Michigan, I think it is, Michigan, in about 2 weeks. When he goes to see his friend, he's getting it then. Week and a half, I'm sorry. So all of y'all have a really great day, and I'll see you later.